What's up, everyone, and welcome to the next episode of the Untitled FWA Podcast. It's TGO here, and this is actually one I've had on an idea and wanted to do for a long time. It's Mr. Franchise from the forum from Wrestling Click, the handler of the character Eli Black in the FWA, and the handler of a lot of characters from CWA, the Click Wrestling Alliance. So, Franchise, what's up, man? Welcome. Thank you for doing this.
Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, man. How are you been? How are you doing today?
Oh man, like what we was talking like all podcasts, it's like 130 million degrees in New York, and I live in a crap building where you can't have more than one AC on at a time. So
oh gosh,
it's pretty hot.
Oh man, it sounds like because Florida's pretty bad. So you're making me happy that I'm in Florida right now.
I don't know if it's bad as Florida though. I had a friend that went down there and he couldn't take the heat and came back to New York.
Right. Yeah, it's rough. I mean, I went for a walk with my dog at about 1:00 and I was like, man, I feel bad for making my dog do this. So, yeah, but one AC, yeah, man, that's rough. So tell me, you're in New York, I guess New York City, right? Proper?
Yeah,
All
New
right.
York City.
Where in the city?
Brooklyn.
Brooklyn. Okay. All right. Have you born and raised there your whole life?
Yeah, born and raised there my whole life.
Awesome.
Brooklyn people listen to this. Bed-Stuy and Flatbush is the main area I lived in.
Okay.
From there, that's cool.
Are you Knicks or Nets?
Knicks.
You're a Knicks?
Yeah, Knicks. Yeah, because that's New Jersey's always been like the ugly stepbrother of New York.
Yeah.
So even though they're here now, I still associate with them because I'm an old head.
That's fair. Yankees or Mets?
Yankees.
Okay. And then Giants or Jets?
Giants.
Okay, so you're going. So when I was asking this question, I was like, I wonder if he goes Nets, Mets, Jets. It's a rhyme,
Yeah, for a long time that was a joke about how all the X teams suck.
Right, and they're all like the second. They're all like the second banana of the sport. Okay, so you go Knicks, Giants, Yankees. All right, yeah, there you go, man. Those are the classics. Those are the classics of the duos. Are you a hockey fan at all or no?
No, I never grew up with hockey.
Okay, that's fair.
Unless it was Mighty Ducks.
Unless it was no, I'm down for that. I love me some Mighty Ducks, some old kid sports movies. I'm all about that. So tell me before we get into FWA stuff, we talked about where you live. What do you do in real life?
Okay, so like my day job, I'm a clinical administrator supervisor. So easy way to say that I'm a front desk supervisor.
Okay.
So I train the front desk. I make sure all our numbers are good. I kind of help people at other locations and make sure all the patients are good. I work at a physical therapy office.
Okay, I was going to say, is there a specific industry that you work in? But you said physical therapy. So you're the front desk supervisor at a physical therapy office or physical therapy practice. Okay, awesome. There's a lot of people that I know who that's their dream, is like to be involved with physical therapy, especially in the medical side. Is that like, was that something you were interested in, or is it just kind of like you kind of found your way to just doing this specific job and just it happened to be physical therapy? Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely. I kind of found my way. I was actually working in what I wanted to do, which was in a school. I was not a private school, but forgetting what the other term is, but it's not part of the DOE. But they lost funding. It was like one of those schools that has to get funding from the community, and they lost funding, so they had to let go all the staff.
Okay.
So then my friend was already working at the physical therapy place, and he helped me get a job here. So I've been doing it, and I just slowly just getting promoted.
Okay, awesome. What hobbies do you have outside of the FWA? And I know of one, which is like the Marvel. You do a lot of reviews, YouTube. You post a lot of the stuff in Discord. Aside from that, because we might get into that and like just how that form. Like any other hobbies you have?
I'm a video gamer. Mostly PlayStation and Nintendo.
Okay.
I play basketball. I'm into watching basketball, Yu-Gi-Oh, anime, comics. I'm all around geek, nerd. and stuff like that. Yeah.
But you play basketball. So I mean, I'm the same way. I play basketball too. I play all the time. I try to play a lot, like once a week. So it's that good mixture of, you know, being a nerd and also getting out there and getting a sweat on and, you know, staying healthy and getting a run in. So that's nothing, you know, that's a good balance.
That was the one benefit I had when I was working in the school. Me and the coworkers could use the gym, and we used to do that like on our lunch break or after work and just go in there and ball. It was fun.
Right. That's perfect, man. That sounds awesome. Let's go into the Marvel thing. So I know you're into Marvel, into the reviewing TV shows. I'll be honest, I haven't watched one. I think I watched one around after WandaVision. It's just kind of because how I watch. I'll wait a few weeks and then kind of watch 2 or 3 at a time to get caught up. And I know you were doing kind of the weekly or at least semi-weekly reviews. Tell me if I'm wrong in any of this stuff or if I'm off the mark.
No, yeah.
And I need to, if you have posted one about the last episode of Loki, I need to watch that because I am caught up, so I wouldn't be spoiling myself.
I did do the last episode of Loki, but the thing with my reviews, okay, this is one thing I could say. I hate spoilers. Like, okay, you're the devil to me if you spoil something to me.
Okay.
I'll never forget when I was going to watch Avengers Endgame and this family was coming from watching it and they were talking about the movie. I literally just ran away from them and almost got into my car because I didn't want to hear any spoilers.
Oh my God, that's hilarious.
They were like, you saw that thing that happened to Loki? I was like, whoa.
Whoa. That'd be the worst. That'd be the worst thing, especially because I love Loki. I love Loki's character. So if someone said it to me, I'd be like, I don't want to watch anymore.
Yeah, especially someone I don't know. So yeah, when I do my reviews, I try not to spoil anything at all. I just tell you how I feel about it. So even if you haven't seen it yet, it's kind of telling you just how I feel and if it's a decent episode. But I try not to spoil anything because I don't like to be spoiled.
Okay, so how did you get into like doing the review stuff? Like when did you start that with like the Marvel shows and like with anything else really? Like how did you get into that? How did you get into like I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna post it on YouTube?
This year in about March. So my channel is a couple months old. And I really got interested a couple years ago. I forgot, I was like excited for some show that no one else watched. And I had no one to talk to about it. So I went on YouTube to see a review, and then I started seeing these reviews, and the way it was positioned, it was like they were having a conversation with me about it. And I wanted to do that as well. But I just didn't have the confidence of camera presence to do so. But for years, my friends have been saying, Zach, you're very opinionated. Sometimes you see things in shows and movies that other people don't see. You need to either get into writing reviews online or record yourself. And this year, I just decided, you know what, let's do this.
That's awesome. So yeah, so it was your friends inspired you, I guess, to kind of put your feet, like don't dip your toes in, but like just dive head first into it and just try it.
Yeah.
Okay, that's cool. You have a good support system. I like that. Let's go into the FWA now. So you joined the FWA in October 2019, really a T fitting in general, with the quote unquote the Artist of Chaos, Eli Black, and I love that name. What were your inspirations for the character? Because you, as far as I know, you didn't have him before. Maybe I'm wrong on that, but you didn't have him in the CWA at least. So what were your inspirations?
He's a FWA original.
What were your inspirations, and is there an actual wrestler that you based him off of? Because a lot of times people, like Ramon is based off of Shawn Michaels, for instance. Like there's a lot of times people base their FWA characters off of a WWE character. Do you have someone like that, or it could be based off of you? Like, because other times people just base them characters off themselves.
The core of Eli Black was based off Elijah Burke from when he was in ECW.
I'm so happy.
Kind of how I saw the character, and that's why that was his base character at first.
I love Eli. I love Elijah Burke so much.
Me too.
All right. Now I know why I like Eli Black so much. Okay.
That ECW run really saved my interest into wrestling because it was waning really badly, and then here comes all these weird characters. And ended up being my favorite wrestler, CM Punk, coming up and doing stuff that wasn't on the main roster. It really saved it. And Elijah Burke was a standout for me.
So like there was the old group. Like I remember this angle because I just got back into wrestling at around the same time. There was the old group of like Tommy Dreamer and maybe Rhino was in there. I don't know. And there was like the new breed, right? Which was like Eli was the head of it. There was the Kevin Thorne vampire guy.
Yeah.
They were trying to recruit CM Punk. I forget who else they had, but they had one or
John
two.
Morrison, but
John,
I think John Morrison. We went from Johnny Nitro to John Morrison.
right?
Yeah.
So that was Eli. That was Elijah Burke's that was the real big thing that he got to do in WWE. And I remember thinking, I like this guy. We'll get to, I like the fact that they're pushing a black male. I like the fact that they're kind of diversifying the talent. I like the fact that they're kind of doing something unique on ECW. I just liked Eli Black's look, or Elijah Black's look. I'm sorry, Elijah Burke's look.
Yeah, and I just thought he had all the, because you brought up him being a black male wrestler. Out of all the black male wrestlers probably had in the last 5 years before he showed up, he seemed like he was the most capable of being a world champion.
Did you follow him to Impact when he was D'Angelo Dinero, I think is how you pronounce his name? Okay.
Yes, I definitely followed him to Impact because I love TNA. Like, in between, when I dropped off of WWE, WWF, I went to TNA and I fell in love with it. So when he went from ECW to there, I was all in. And he got to really be himself there. And I'm even watching him in NWA. Like, I follow him along because I just really love what he does.
You and I are in the same boat because I love Elijah Burke. I loved Elijah Burke. I mean, I didn't get as much exposure to De Niro, to him as the Pope and TNA because whether it was just the channels on the cables package or whatever, but I loved him, and I really wish that he would have worked out for long or better in some way. Like him and MVP were there at the same time, and I remember doing a BTB on an old forum, and like when I did the BTB, I was pushing MVP and Elijah Burke to the moon, along with CM Punk and John Morrison and stuff like that. But I just remember those two being there. And I wish that they had gotten better. I know MVP's back and he's doing a good thing now. He's got a lot of momentum now with his current character, but I wish they got more out of their singles runs in WWE at the time, because I think that they had a lot there. I don't know. Anyway, you got me on a rant, man. Elijah Burke.
This is perfect. There. Yeah, man. Like those guys, you just said MVP. I was a big fan of him. Feud and Matt Hardy, all that stuff. He was another guy that was great.
I remember his. They did like the basketball game.
Yeah.
On SmackDown one. They did like, it was just like the everything you can do, I can do better type of thing. And I remember they did a basketball game with
and
their
usually
feud.
Stuff like that would be corny in WWE, but for some reason they made it work.
They did. They made it work. Yeah. I mean, MVP made it work. Like I think Matt Hardy was kind of out of place with it, but MVP made it work for sure. Self-described as, and this is from your bio, quote unquote, a former artist turned wrestler who has been saved by a church and turned into their fanatic messenger. I know you're probably going to update that at some point after Back in Business, but there's a lot there. There's a lot of character there. There's a lot of character development there. I love that. So going through a quick rundown of Eli Black in the FWA, made your debut, I think, at Carnal Contendership like 2019. Whenever you joined in 2019, you lost a multi-man X title match at Back in Business against MVH, won it. Then she did the whole, I got it right, of course. Then she did the whole attacker angle. Gerald Grayson won it in a triple threat with Eli Black. I think you guys had a rematch on like a special one-off show.
It was a warehouse show.
It was a warehouse show, yeah. Before we even called them warehouse shows, it was a warehouse show.
Yeah, we started a trend.
You guys did. I mean, technically, I know Tig kind of calls it the warehouse and he took it, but you guys, you and Jam started it. I mean, that was the first one that we ever did. And I know that was a really close match. You were also in the gauntlet match in between this time to determine who was going to face King Sully. I think Alistair won it, but you were really close, and a lot of it was based off of like a random draw of when they were going to come in.
Yeah.
Dude, my point is, and then of course we've had the feud with Cyrus where you've been close. You've had a lot of close, but you've been like right there. I mean, you've had a lot of stuff happen and a lot of title feuds and a lot of good feuds. And you've just been
in a short amount of time.
In a short amount of time, you've been really, really close. I know you have a Gauntlet Championship win, but like you've been close to winning the X Championship. You've been close to getting a world title shot. You've been close to winning the North American Championship. Like you've had a lot of stuff happen in like a short amount of time. Do you notice that as it's happening? Like, is it something that like you don't realize till like maybe a year in? You're like, oh man, like I've had decent number of feuds and like memorable stuff.
No, I definitely noticed it. Like it's like a month delay. I don't notice it like in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just criticizing myself and thinking about, damn, I lost that match. How do I improve?
Mm-hmm.
But then when I go back, I'm like, when I talk to people, oh, it was closer than I thought it was. It wasn't like the person graded 35 and I graded 17. It was like a point, 2 point, maybe a point, half a point differential. But yeah, when you talk about like all the craziness that happened within that year, you know, my first match, Cardinal contendership, me coming to FWA and not even knowing what that is.
Right.
And then having that multi-man match, not knowing how special MBH was.
Right.
And her winning and then seeing where she is now is crazy. And then me going one-on-one with Gerald. And the thing with Gerald, and me and Jam has talked about this, me and him feel like we're forever linked to each other, like Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn.
I agree. I think you guys are going to always come back around to each other, either as partners or as opponents.
And we were super sad when we got split in the draft, because that was one of the first people I wanted to feud with after Cyrus.
That's awesome. It's just you go through and if you stick around for long enough, like you have those types of things. Like Golden ended up having it with Rondo. It happened kind of out of just, I don't want to say randomness because it wasn't random entirely, but like it just happens that way. Organic is the best way I can say it. And Eli Black, Gerald Grayson feels organic. It feels like just an organic rivalry or relationship, maybe even partnership down the road that just kind of makes sense. And it's very competitive. You guys are always, as I could, like, if I was to say like, you know, where you were as a writer and where Jam was as a writer a year ago, I would say you guys have improved and probably have improved like around the same amount. To the point where it's always going to be competitive. It's always going to be a close match. It's always going to make sense. I don't know if that's how you feel too.
No, definitely. I think the fact that we both got paired with writers that are better than us and working with them and seeing what they do in their process, it just helped both of us get better at the same time. Like MVH is great and like probably the best in the Fed, but I think Cyrus Truth is right there. I've been dealing with Cyrus for 11 years now.
Right.
I don't think the only time I've ever beat him was that one time that Eli beat him. Before that, none of my other characters could beat him because he's just so great. And he just keeps getting better and better and better. And it's nuts. So I think that helped me get better. Plus, you know, people like you, Sully, Garcia, and other people just deciding to like, you know, give me advice. And I think Gerald, you know, talking with MVH, it just let him get better as well. So yeah, definitely. We both got better at the same rate.
Eli started as a face. I mean, the Artist of Chaos kind of has that whole, like, I'm kind of a wild, I'm a risk taker, perfect for the X Championship at the time. Started as a face, transitioned to a heel with the Church of Nine storyline and the feud with Cyrus. Was that the idea, or were you experimenting?
To be honest with you, I've always had like an idea of what my characters would be, because based on someone that was realistic. And even though Eli look was based off Elijah Burke, I had no idea what I was doing with him.
Right.
The Artist of Chaos name, I kind of just thought it sounded cool. And I was like, I'm just going to throw a whole bunch of shit at the wall, and whatever sticks and keeps working, I'm just going to keep going.
Right.
So, and then I remember they were saying there was a heel overload in FWA. So I said, I'm going to be a face, even though I wanted to be a heel.
Right.
And so I said, okay, I'm going to be a face because they need faces. It helps with the matchup, and I'll figure it out as I go. And then it just made sense for me to go heel against Cyrus, because I think Cyrus was just more a likable character than my character.
I think a lot of times I personally, after doing this for enough time, I'm more comfortable writing faces, but I think a lot of people starting out, at least, they're more natural writing heels. And I don't know if you feel that way too. I think people feel like they have more room. You know, they're not as constricted by morals and ethics and stuff like that. They can kind of have a little bit more of an open canvas to do whatever they want and to build whatever they want. So it's not unheard of for people to say, you know what, like I did a face and I just feel like I'm better as a heel.
And I think also at first it's really hard to write a really good baby face. So I commend you and Ramon and Gerald for doing it. but I think it's a power fantasy thing. I think most people on the forum, and especially talk to you guys through Discord, are good people. And I think they're naturally good people in their regular lives. So to be an asshole when you're doing your fantasy stuff feels good because you kind of get that negative energy out of you in another way.
That's really interesting. It's like it's an outlet. It's a venting opportunity or a venting source, right? Like you're able to be an asshole through this character, and good vibes all around in real life.
Yeah.
No, it makes a lot of sense, and I never really thought of it like that.
Like Dan Maswell, who's his handler?
Shade.
I'm pretty sure he's not sexist
Right.
piece of shit.
No.
I'm pretty sure that's just the character he created based on people he probably doesn't even like.
Right, and Comeback Kid with Sean Summers, that bit of an a-hole vibe to him, right? And is Comeback Kid like that? Probably not. Like, this is probably people's outlet or people's way to kind of just vent, I guess. What do you enjoy most about writing Eli Black?
The freedom to he's starting to become what I see myself as the time gone by. Now, after I dropped the third person and the Artist of Chaos, kind of just this eclectic person that's into a lot of different things, that really loves wrestling, but it's not his whole life. And I feel like that is me because I love wrestling. I'm into it weekly. I don't sit down and watch the shows as much as I used to because I just can't. It feels really repetitive a lot of times, like real progression.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm into so many different things, and that's kind of like what I've made Eli. I made him a musician. He's an artist. He's a wrestler. He's a spokesperson for a cult.
Right.
And fighting what he believes in and stuff like that. And I do that on a daily basis. So that's what I really like about it. It's just the freedom to do how I am in real life, but times 30.
So the multi-dimensional aspect of Eli as a character beyond just being a wrestler, and that's a lot of characters in the FWA, right? Like, I've written in Golden being a father now, and that's very much based on me in real life. There's other examples of that, of different characters. And one of the things that's come up in Discord is there's a lot of characters who they're characters in our universe who happen to wrestle versus wrestlers who happen to do other stuff. And the Church of Nine storyline kind of seems to fit that, where Eli is part of something much bigger, and you sort of, quote unquote, fit wrestling within that storyline, within the church, within the cult. And then you kind of integrate your other relationships around that as well. How do you view that balance? And you kind of just touched on it, of like, I'm a wrestler, I want to win these championships, but I'm also writing Eli in this much bigger community, this much bigger story that really, when you think about like a church and a cult, really transcends a wrestling federation.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you kind of find that balance? Like, and really, how do you also find a way to pull it back in? Because you can kind of get lost in this bigger story and like lose focus of like the wrestling side of it, but also you want to make sure that you're still giving the bigger story the due attention. So like, how do you find that balance?
I think that it's been hard, and it's been one of the issues I've had writing that I'm trying to get better at. And I think that it's going to be a blessing that I'm not doing the Church of Nine things anymore, because sometimes I'll sit there and I'm writing, and I'm 3,000 words in, and then I'm rereading it, and I'm like, I haven't mentioned my opponent yet.
Right.
I can't just add 1,000 words at the end and talk about the opponent. It doesn't work. So I look to people like MBH, who have so many different things going on in their lives, the character, and they tie the themes of what's going on with their opponent or how they feel about the opponent within it. And that's kind of what I've been trying to do. Like with my promo for back in business, I had a mention of Cyrus throughout my promo, even though I was dealing with different things.
Mm-hmm.
And just relating him to that. Even when I did the whole Stan thing where the stalker was following me, I made it that the Stan was mad because I wasn't the Artist of Chaos no more because of Cyrus.
Mm-hmm.
So just tying it back into what is going on in my life it's like that's the part that I've been working on the best, and I think I'm going to improve moving forward.
I think that you're on the money with that. Like, even if you write this bigger universe and this bigger story, like if you could find little sub aspects of that story that you can tie into your opponent in the match whenever it's happening in the FWA, like you're able to make that bridge. You're able to like to thread the needle, right? Of doing both sides of it. So no, that I think you're on the money. That's exactly finding that theme, finding that metaphor, I guess you could say, or some sort of tie-in is exactly the way that people do it.
So one of my favorite promos that I ever wrote was versus Una for the Gauntlet title. I think I did a great job of tying everything I was doing in talking directly about Una and finding a thread that I could just make up, and it made me go off. Because Una is just such, like, what do you say about AOM? Like, you know what I'm saying? Especially with Una. Right. I found a way in my promo where I was like, look, you know, I'm just gonna say that I would try to talk to her in the hallway, and she blew me off.
Right.
And then I just ran wild with it, and things like that. I realized why wasn't I not doing that before? You can definitely do things like that, and it works.
Right. You just talked about the Una promo, and to do it in, I mean, the 1,000 words thing. Like, it's people have said this before. I have not had to do it yet. I imagine it is so difficult. But this is a question I didn't put on the list I sent you, so I'm kind of catching off guard. I apologize. What's a promo that you're really proud of? What's a promo that you feel like when you look back and you're like, that this is an example of how much I've grown, how much I've improved, how much, you know, and maybe like in your mind, like you always were a really good writer, even when you first jumped into FWA, but like, this is just an example of like, I'm really good at this.
Just to start off, I know I wasn't a good writer going to the FWA. I mean, because I started before. I was very hesitant to come to the FWA. So because I read the promos, I was like, whoa, these guys are writing novels.
Right.
I'm not used to doing that, and they're also incorporating so many different things. Do I have the time? But the promo that made me defeat Cyrus that first time, when I reread that, and I was like, oh man, this is really good. Like, a lot of times when I reread my promos, I was like, oh, I should have added this. Oh, I should have said this. But when I read that, I was like, there's not much more I could have done. I told my story. It wasn't too long. I took the jabs at Cyrus. I also progressed our actual storyline, which then he progressed it in his next promo. So it helped our feud. So I think I ticked all the boxes with that one.
Right. You I remember grading that. It was the first. It was y'all's first one-on-one match. And yeah. I remember grading, and I was like, Eli won. Like, you know, and I don't think people, and I don't mean this as like as a criticism or as anything. Like, I think people were somewhat surprised. And maybe, you know, and like you said, you faced him many times. Like, you faced him through CWA. You faced him even before then, maybe. Like, you know, and he always was able to kind of get, you know, edge you out a little bit. So this was like the first time you beat him. But I remember, I don't remember the specifics of that promo, but I remember reading that promo thinking, damn, like he didn't just like, it wasn't just like it wasn't like, oh, Cyrus like had an off day. Like, Eli beat him. Like, franchise wrote, like, he just went up and beat him. He leveled up and beat him. And when you're reading that result, you know, on that show, I forget exactly what show it was. But when you're reading that result and you see that you beat him, what's going through your head?
I lost my mind. I lost my damn mind. I was so excited because, like, up to that point, I was on a big losing streak. I think I lost to JJJ. I lost to Alistair. I lost to Donovan Moore, maybe, or Kaden Knox, something like that. But I just know I was on a losing streak. So I also already felt like I didn't deserve this match. And then to win, it just felt great. And, like, obviously, I live with my mom because she needs, I have to live with her. Mm-hmm. She's disabled, and I went to her and I was like, I beat him, and she was like, what? Yay. It was so funny that she was so excited about it because I told her, and she loves that I'm doing creative writing.
That's awesome.
So yeah, I was just, I think like I stopped reading the show at that point, and I had to like read the show the next day because I was just so hyped. I hit up Willis and I was like, I beat Cyrus. He was like, you did? He was shocked because he knows what it is to go against Cyrus.
So
I was just super stoked. But then I also like reflect like, okay, this is just the beginning. Like this feud is not over. I got to figure out how to do it again. I even spoke to Sully because he messaged me and he was talking about the promo and he was like, yo, you wrote a really complicated character and you really fully realized it in this promo, but you're going to have to do it again because you're going to face him again. And I was like, I know.
Cyrus isn't going anywhere. Yeah.
Yeah. He's a way to kill my high.
But and then Cyrus wins the Fatal 4-Way. So he has the North American Championship. So now right off the bat, it's like, okay, it only makes sense that you guys are going to face again, but now the North American title is involved. That's probably really cool. And then you go into Back in Business. There's the whole, you're the Gauntlet champion. I know everyone. That's the thing with e-fetting, man. Like if this was a Be the Booker, Eli gets all 5 Gauntlet title defenses, cashes in at Back in Business, faces Cyrus for the North American title and wins it probably. But you go into the last defense and you lose to, I think it was Regan Cole. And, I think I even came to you and I was like, how do you feel about this to try and make it work? And even if you lose, we'll square peg round hole a title match. We'll make it work, but it'll probably be Church of Nines and it'll be up for grabs. So you go into Back in Business, the Church of Nines on the line. This is the feud ender. You're reading the result. How did, and maybe it could be the polar opposite of how you felt the first time. How did you feel reading that result?
If I wasn't in the Discord, I probably would have been crushed.
Right.
But because I was in the Discord and I saw how everybody loved Cyrus' promo and no one was talking about my promo, I was like, yeah, I probably lost this one.
Right. So you
kind of prepared.
You kind of came to peace with it beforehand.
Yeah, 1,000%. In my head, I was like, I won this. I really loved that promo.
Right.
It could have been a little bit better, but I still loved it, and I thought it was a winnable, like one that could win. But I saw the response to Cyrus' promo, and his promo was fantastic. He character progressed a character that doesn't need more character progression, and
right.
Yeah, it's going to be hard to beat that. So, I wasn't as crushed as I thought I was going to be because I kind of knew, and then the losing the Church of Nine stuff, it was kind of in my head. I was like, I'm going to give up Church of Nine no matter what, if I win or lose. So I wasn't a big thing on that either.
Okay. I think it's, to be able to take a step back and say, man, like Cyrus's promo really was awesome. Like, it's a lot of maturity. So I commend you for that. It can be tough. It could be really tough to kind of put a lot of this development and this work into a character and this build into a feud and get to the end of it. And then, you have this result that doesn't go your way. Like that's tough. So it can be tough. And so, I'm speaking to you as if I'm speaking to Tick too, because I know he felt the same way. But it's a lot of maturity to be able to take a step back and say, yeah, Cyrus had a really great promo. And I think it's
because I've been e-fetting for so long. If this was my first e-fed, I think I might have disappeared afterwards.
Right.
Honestly, but because I've been e-fetting for so long, at this point, I'm so committed to just FWA universe in general because you guys are so supportive. I was like, this is not the end. I lose. Now this, my character builds again, and then maybe I fight him again or I fight somebody else. There's something else to look forward to.
What was something you learned from the Cyrus Truth feud? And it could be something about Eli as a character. It could be something as a writer. It could be something different than either of those two things.
As a character, Eli, I need to find Eli's voice. When I realize when I read the really good people like MVH, Danny Toner, Dave Sullivan, even Garcia promos, I can hear their voice in my head when I'm reading it.
Mm-hmm.
Even Devin Golden. I don't think I have that for Eli yet. I'm working on it now. So for his character, I think that's what he needs to figure out. As a writer or as a person, I need to figure out to be more proactive in feuds in terms of what I want. I think that Cyrus feud could have been bigger than it was, kind of started getting lost in the shuffle because there's so much crazy stuff going on with Par and MVH and then Gangstar's and Caden and Michael. So we kind of got lost in the shuffle a little bit in terms of how hype the feud was. So I think if I would have been more proactive and like, we should do this on this show and maybe we should post this on the news, and like my next feud, I want to be more proactive in doing that.
That's
making
awesome.
sure it's as big as it possibly can be.
In terms of finding your voice, I'm gonna give you some praise. You know, you started out with the third person and the artist gimmick, and then you shifted over to the Church of Nine and the cult. And I'll say, you know, I think that the third person thing, I think there were mixed reviews, mixed reactions. I was actually on the leaning positive side of it. You know, I thought it was unique. I thought it stood apart from everyone else in terms of voice, in terms of the character. The cult thing, the Church of Nine thing, a lot of times, man, those things struggle to hit the mark, and you were able to do it and you were able to stick with it. So I commend you for that. I really do. A lot of times those things do not go over well, at least for me. And I will just say, I praise you. I think I said this on the podcast with Shake whenever we did like our mock draft for the brand split. I praise you and I rate you highly because you're willing to try stuff. You're willing to take risks, take shots, throw shit at the wall, see what sticks, and try and set yourself apart. And there's something to that a lot of people don't. A lot of people play it safe. They want to be the traditional heel. They want to be traditional face. They want to stay within the wrestling universe, and they want to just kind of stay inside a box. And I commend you for wanting to try new stuff. I'll say that over and over again, because I do think there's something positive. And I do think as you continue to do that, you are going to find your voice. And I think you're closer to finding your voice now with Eli than you were 6 months ago. I
appreciate that. I think in terms of that box, I think that's what, like real life wrestling, I think it's holding it back. If real life wrestling could execute what we do at the FWA, it would bring more people in.
Right.
Something kind of like what the Lucha Underground was doing with the soap opera season to season kind of thing that they were doing, but taking that to the next level with more production value. I think wrestling can get there in real life, and I think FWA is a good example. Obviously, you know, some of these promos are like 4 hours if you really put the time, if you really put it on TV.
Right. But, it's like $1 million. There's $1 million going into these things. Yeah.
Yeah. But if you can find a way to separate them up show by show and carry that story over and tie it more together, what's happening in the promo, what's happening on the actual show.
Right.
It would be amazing in real life. But I really love reading the shows. That's like that's the wrestling I get week to week.
Right. It's mine too. I don't have time to sit down and watch like a 3-hour show of Raw, and I don't want to. Like it's not. It doesn't interest me the entire time, but FWA does. So no, I'm with you there. You write in so much family backstory into your Eli Black promos and like other non-wrestling, I guess you could say NPC, but like non-wrestling character relationships, like Frederick, the father, Laurie, are just two examples. There was the whole promo. Tell me if I'm wrong on this. The promo where like Cyrus came home to meet your mom, like to meet Eli Black's mom, which was an incredible promo, an incredible setting, an incredible situation, just an awesome tag team promo. I think it was a tag team promo. I think it was in the tournament. Yeah. An awesome tag team promo. So how did that materialize? And was that always the plan to incorporate all these different relationships? Frederick, the father, Laurie, to bring your mom in at times, like, was that always part of it? And maybe the Church of Nine kind of, the Church of Nine storyline could have inspired that, because it's easy as you get into the cult, the family is going to try and pull you out. Right. So tell me, how did that materialize, and was that the plan?
So I have to give a shout out to Woke Willis, because I asked him for advice in terms of like, what should I do with Eli? He said, you need to build your own universe. And
it's true. It's so true. It can be big, it can be small, whatever it is, but have your universe. It's very true.
Have your universe. I mean, he's like, have a girlfriend, have a manager, have somebody else so that you can talk to somebody. So when you are cutting a promo on someone, it's not you just looking at a camera. And I was like, it's fucking amazing. Thank you.
Right.
He's the guy who got me into e-setting in the first place. So I always reference back to him when I need help, because he's brilliant. Shout out to Woke. But Frederick what I would believe my actual real life father that I don't know would be like.
Mm-hmm.
And Laurie is just based off the pick base, Logan Larice Brown, and I just kind of pictured her how like one of her characters in a show I watched, and I just incorporated in there, and I felt like I wanted Eli to be a legacy character because I was really, I read comic books, and I was thinking about like Damian Wayne and then Batman, and how Batman is like this gruff, like he's a hero, but he's a gruff piece of shit in real life, in like his regular life.
Mm-hmm.
And like I'm the Damian Wayne where I'm like I've been lost and traveling and trying to figure out myself, and then me and him reconnect, and then he brings me into this church, and the same way Batman brings Damian into the Bat family to fight justice. And so that's kind of where that came from. And I just felt like I wanted to have a mother character to be the positive role model of if I ever wanted to go back to face, I could just have that heart-to-heart conversation with her. And that's probably like if I ever go face, that's the promo you guys will see.
That's going to be really good. I can already tell you it's going to be really good because like just she's not coming out of nowhere.
So the thing with Cyrus was the first couple promos that we wrote, and we won those tag team matches that people didn't expect us to win because they were like, these two don't fit with each other. He came up with ideas and things like that, and I was following his lead. So for that one, I was like, hey, I have an idea. You think we could do this? And I commend him for going, let's do this. And he like jumped straight in. He helped me with with Rosie's, my mom's dialogue, and he was just a really great help. And really, like, if you are in a tag team with Cyrus and you are committed to doing it, you're gonna learn a lot.
Right.
And that's what that promo was me learning a lot about scene setting and writing dialogue, and he just fleshed out the idea that I had, and that's kind of where it came from.
I think whenever you turn face and you reintroduce your mom's character, the fact that she's already been introduced, the fact that we already seen her, that conversation and that, that relationship kind of expanding is going to be really good. It's going to be really heartfelt, and it's going to hit the mark, I think. That's my opinion. I don't know. But I think that you've got something there. So I'm looking forward to whenever you turn face. I'm not going to lie. Is there someone in the FWA you want to feud with?
People that I want to feud with. Danny Toner.
Okay. That's high up on a lot of people's lists. That's a good answer.
He's just fun. He's also from New York.
Yeah.
So it makes a lot of sense. I would love to go with Eli Black because he beat me.
That's a fun one.
I definitely want to go, and just I'll get to do my brutal side to Eli.
That's a fun one. Eli versus Alistair would be a fun feud.
Yeah, and me and Raw already joked that we're cousins, so we can just bring that to real life. So we're long lost cousins or something.
Right.
The same last name. JJJ, that's just gonna be fun.
Right.
And I already have a character in my universe that can help me do the weird stuff with him. So I kind of prep that.
Right. Those are three good picks. And JJ, man, there are no boundaries with the feud with him, right? So, anything is on the table. And I think that's one of the reasons why people pick him for that question is because the opportunities, the possibilities are endless. Who is someone you want to partner with?
We talked about Gerald already. I'd love to have like a heel face tag team where he's trying to convince me to do good, but I'm trying to convince him to do bad.
Right.
Tag team. I think that would be fun. I want a team with Sauce X.
Okay.
Because I think Blaine is good. I just think he hasn't had a storyline to, bite his teeth in. And I want to, I think what Cyrus did for me, I think I could help him a little bit with.
Mm-hmm.
Having that person that has been doing it longer and kind of you can go along with through the tag team ranks. And Chris Kennedy, I didn't know that he liked my character so much, or me as a writer. Mm-hmm. But when you guys did the podcast, and he's brought it up in the Discord as well, and I think he's like a phenomenal character and writer. So I think that's another person that can help me take it to the next level.
3 awesome answers. You were drafted 12th overall in the draft, in the brand split draft, 6 by Meltdown. Did you care which brand you went to at all?
I did not care. I trust all the writers.
Right. I know you said you want to be with Gerald Grayson. You want to be with Jam. But maybe outside of that, you were just kind of like, I'm going to go with the flow. So what was your reaction to going 12th? I mean, in 12th, you were right around, maybe even like a little bit later than what I thought you might go, but you were right in that spot of like, this is someone, like it's a building block. This is a character that could be around for 3-4 years. It's going to slowly go up the ranks, slowly get better. So what was your reaction? Like, were you hoping to go top 10? Did you not really care where you went? Like in terms of like numbered or round?
12th overall, 6 for Meltdown, right?
Yeah.
When I saw that when we were doing the live draft, I was like, what the heck is Sully and them thinking? Why did they pick me this high with so many great people on the board? And then when they lost Rondo, I was like, you should have picked Rondo over me. I couldn't believe it. Like, I didn't think Eli was 6. Because I'm thinking, obviously they're thinking the potential I had as I get better as a writer. And I'm thinking kayfabe in terms of like where Eli is at, his losing streak and everything. I was like, I probably could drop lower than that. I thought I was going to be way lower than that. So that's what's going through my head.
Who are 3, really quick, last rapid fire question, 3 favorite characters in the FWA and 3 favorite writers in the FWA. And you can't say Gold and you can't say me. Not to say you would, but take me off the table.
Okay, I actually wrote it down because you sent me the questions, and yeah, I definitely had you. And okay, that's easy. So let me put my number 4. Okay, so characters, JJJ. Come on, that promo at BIB solidified that. I couldn't believe it.
Right.
Danny Toner. I just love his segments on the show. Forget about, obviously his promos are amazing, but his segments on the show are always highlights.
Right.
And Gerald Grayson, because he's just a pure babyface, and we don't have a lot of those in real life or in FWA.
I like that. I like those 3. I like the Grayson shout, especially for the reasons you gave. A lot of people are in that gray area, and he does not go in that gray area, or at least he hasn't been so far. He might eventually, but he hasn't so far.
Yeah, so. Even when he's with MVH, who's in the gray area, she kind of flips back and forth. He kind of pulls her back to the light.
Right.
Awesome. Writers, John, because, JJJ, Captain Fantasy, amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Tig, obviously, because Danny Toner.
Mm-hmm.
And ETE.
Okay, good shout.
It's funny because no offense to ETE, I did not like Gabriel when I first joined the FWA.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't think, I don't know, the promos were great. I just wasn't connecting with the character. But this whole like downhill thing that he's been doing with her has been my favorite thing going so far.
Yeah. No, it's
absolutely amazing.
It's awesome. It's awesome in the sense of like he's making chicken salad out of chicken shit, like in his mind. Like, he lost a match that he kind of was banking everything on. So like, now where do you go? It's like, well, you might as well lean into how you feel, right? He's doing a good job with it.
Yeah.
ET's doing a really good job with it. That's a good shout. I like that. I'm always up for people giving Gabby some love. Gabby doesn't get enough of it, so.
No, he doesn't. He doesn't.
You're good. What do you enjoy most about e-fetting? And what got you into it?
I've been e-fetting since I was in high school, which was a long time ago.
Man, 15 years or so, huh?
Yeah. Willis, I think me and him met each other when we were 16, 17.
Mm-hmm.
So like shortly after that, he was like, oh, you love wrestling? I do this thing. He showed me an example of it. And then I was like, oh, I'm down. I was like, oh, I might do it for a little while. Then I fell in love with the creativity of it.
Right.
I've always loved art. I used to draw. I love music. I love the craftsmanship of movies. And I love the art of wrestling. So this kind of encompasses all those kind of things, like reading a book and like the art of that.
Okay.
And having Willis there to talk about it week to week also helped.
And so Willis got you into it. Like he was the one who were you guys in a Fed before CWA together, or was CWA where he got you in?
No, we were in 2 Feds before CWA.
Okay.
So I actually have a great story about the first bed we're in. So
All right,
PSW, Power Strike Wrestling.
PS is PSW. So we were on originally our old forum was PWS. It's not in any way connected, but anyway.
No, yeah. When I heard you guys say that on the Kennedy podcast, I was like, wait, hold up. And I was like, no, it's PWS. I was like, did we know each other? But yeah, PSW was the forum we were on. That's the first time I e-fetted, and we had a great time. It's really different from FWA because you can reply to your opponent's role plays.
Mm-hmm.
So if they post one, you can reply, and then they can reply to you. And I think you can only reply twice. So like, yeah, it was like that. But you also didn't. It was weird. It was sometimes you didn't see your opponent's promo. It was really weird. Yeah. But the funny story I had with that is like I had a character. He was one of my first. He was like my second or third character, Andrew Gunn. He was like inspired by Edge and The Crow because I love that movie. And I had my first world title shot, and the guy that was the world champion, he was world champion for like a year and a half. And a lot of people felt like it was funky because his brother was on the staff. And some of the matches that he won, people were like, I don't think he should have won. But I wrote my heart out. And I felt like I was definitely going to win this match. I was like, I wouldn't even have to reply to him because I'm going to counter everything he could say about Andrew.
Right.
So the match comes up, I lose. They post the promos, and I read the promo. I was like, wait, why does it seem so familiar? I go back to look at his last world title match. He copy and pasted his promo for his last world title match and changed some of the names.
But everything else was word for word.
Everything was word for word. And he didn't change all the names. That's how it caught me. He had the wrestler that he beat from the last time. Some of the names he forgot to change. Oh, my gosh. Yeah, and, we called them out, and it was like this whole big thing. And they were like, well, it already happened. We're not changing it.
Oh, my gosh.
And everything went downhill for PSW after that. It went on for 6 months, and the site got shut down after that.
Really? Damn, dude.
Yeah, people were really pissed. People started like, what? Because then in their heads, they're like, maybe that's why I lost. Maybe he's been doing this for a while. Maybe they've been, cheating this whole time. It was right. It was really bad. And then we went to THW. We weren't there for that long because I barely remember it. But I think I brought Andrew Gunn there. And then we got to the CWA, and we brought some of the PSW guys over to CWA as well.
And this was, I think, 2010. That's at least the first character that I saw, your first character sign-up thread that I saw was like 2010. So there's Prince Ali, there's the American Alpha, Anthony Mason, there's Rick Walters, and then Christopher Straight Edge Jackson. I may be missing somebody, but those are the four I found. I believe
there's actually one more character, but it was signed up under a different name because I forgot the Mr. Franchise password. So Judas Kane is me, and I had to sign up as Judas Kane in the forum because I forgot my password for Mr. Franchise. And I was like, shit, I want to go back, and everybody knows who I am as Mr. Franchise.
Right.
But I also wanted to EFED again. And so I made up that character. I did it for a little while, and then I disappeared.
I believe Christopher Jackson was your most successful, and you can tell me if I'm wrong on that.
Yeah.
Who was your favorite of those?
Probably Jackson. Because he's a combination of two of my favorite wrestlers, CM Punk and AJ Styles.
Okay.
Probably like top 5 favorite wrestlers of all time. So he definitely was my favorite wrestler. I had a lot of fun writing him, and also like I won a title with him. Everybody else, it was like I got an itch to do e-fetting again. Did it for a little while, and then I would disappear. That was kind of most of my CWA run.
Mm-hmm.
Like the American Alpha, Anthony Mason, I was just really big on American Alpha from NXT. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to do a combination of a character in one person. I just picked Jason Jordan as the base pick because I was high on him. And I thought he was going to be the next big thing. Rick Walters, I honestly don't really remember what I was doing with that character. I think it was just like one of those things I threw at the wall and I was like, let's go.
Yeah.
And then Prince Ali was, I think, was that 2017. So I think Civil War was out. So Black Panther debuted. So I wanted him to be a combination of T'Challa and Michael B. Jordan. which funny is because end up being like would you end up being in Black Panther being Killmonger, so it was kind of this prince who had an attitude because he thought he was better than everybody and stuff like that.
Okay. You said your CWA run was a lot of it was you would go on stretches, or you would sign up, you'd get the itch, and then you might you drop it, or you for whatever reason you'd lose interest in the character, you'd lose interest in the run. You've been in the FWA for nearly 2 years now, and you've been pretty consistently like going at it with Eli Black. What is different about this run, and what? Tell me, like, what is, and maybe if something with Eli Black that just he resonates with you in a different way. What is it about this run? I mean, you're almost 2 years into this, and you've really, I don't think you had a break. So,
no, I think I've only no-showed twice, and one was against Alistair, just because I was too busy, and the second one because my computer died and I lost my promo.
Mm-hmm.
I think the thing was, one is maturity, and two, like, I'm stable with my job. I'm not doing school work and trying to EFED.
Mm-hmm.
Because like from 2010 to 2017, I was like in school, doing a whole bunch of college and doing a job or maybe two jobs while trying to EFED, while still trying to play video games, while still trying to take care of my family. So it was probably just too much. Now things are I'm not in school. I'm one job. I can focus on doing a promo once a week or once every 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And then also, I love CWA. I have very fond memories of CWA. I didn't think I was ever going to find a Fed that I loved as much as CWA. But the difference with CWA and FWA is that the community is so supportive and positive, and I'm really good. I really need feedback, and you guys are really good at giving feedback, especially you. I really commend you on giving me a lot of feedback, telling me what you like or dislike. Sully as well, and a few other people, and that's what drives me, the community here, and that's why I don't want to fail or let any of you guys down by just ditching you guys. And I'm also having just a lot of fun. The Discord was a brilliant idea. It was a GIP that
it was
made it.
Yeah.
As much as he hates me right now, I have to commend him for coming up with that, because that daily talk of the EFED every day really drives me. It makes me interested in all the characters and the process, and also reviewing promos and getting feedback and stuff like that. It also helps. It makes me a better writer.
I'm glad that you feel like you found like the home, like long term here in the FWA. And I'm glad that the FWA has embraced you. The FWA embraces everybody. I hope the FWA embraces everybody. But I'm glad that you recognize that. I'm glad that it's important to you. I'm glad that it has been a good fit, because you are one of my favorite writers in the FWA. And don't tell anyone I said that. People are getting like more and more high, so like more bigger and just like more of like a fan of Eli Black. I think, Eli Black is going up the ranks, in other words, with people on their lists. But I'm going to say just now, and this is the only time I'm going to do this on this podcast. I usually do this once a podcast. I was there first. Everyone just know that this is my island, and my flag was there first.
It's a fact. It's true. You probably, if that feedback, that initial feedback, and when like Sully teared apart one of my RPs paragraph by paragraph, a lot of people came at him for that, but I really appreciated that, because I don't want to be pampered. I don't want to be like, oh yeah, this is good, when it's not really good. I need that dissection. So like, your encouragement and him ripping me apart really, really, really helped me. Like, okay, I want to stay here, because these guys are dedicated to the wrestlers.
Yeah. No, I'm glad. I'm glad that gets through. Back to Eli, and mm-hmm. we're getting down to the home stretch here, and this is Eli being a black male.
Yeah.
And you being a black male. How do you feel about the importance of depicting a black male character in our universe? Is that something on your mind a lot when considering the problematic depictions and underrepresentation of black males in pop culture, society, movies, TV shows, etc.? Is this a weight on you consciously as you were writing Eli Black?
Yeah, I think you hit it on the nail on the head just now. It's a conscious decision because like all my characters, well, no, like yeah, I had my first character was a character named ZAG, and it was basically my initials, and he was based on Ja Rule. I used to rap in my promos and yada yada yada. He was very stereotypical, and it didn't last for too long. And I look back on it and I hated it.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, all my characters were white up until I think Anthony Mason and then Prince Ali. But then also those characters were based kind of on stereotypes. So I think with Eli Black, I get to make a person that is black, but that's not the special thing about him.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like in pop culture, a lot of times characters in shows and movies, or even in wrestling, like real wrestling, the special thing about a black character is that they're black, not because of something else.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to not have that be a thing. I wanted, Eli Black is black, but people talk about him being in the Church of Nine. They talk about him doing the artist thing. We talk about him speaking in third person. And I think that when you normalize it in that way, which I hope happens in the rest of the media, it helps a lot in terms of people accepting black characters in certain roles. So yeah, it's something I think about all the time.
Eli, it's kind of like the wrestler, like you're this character that happens to wrestle, right?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times a TV character, movie character, a wrestling character, whatever the case may be, they're black, and like that is very much front and center what people talk about. It is at the it is a primary part of how they're depicted, primary part of how they're, I guess, consumed by the audience. Eli Black is an artist, a wrestler, a member of this church, a member of a son to Frederick, a son to his mom, a friend to Lori, or boyfriend to Lori, like their relationship. Like he's all these different characteristics who happens to be black.
Yeah.
So putting all of those things, and you've done a great job of this, an absolutely stellar job of this, putting all those things in front is like so important.
Especially when you watch WWF for so long, and everybody that's, because they even do it to the white characters as well, but mostly if you look at the Spanish and black characters in WWF, WWE, it's all stereotypes. We have the pimp, we have the sexual chocolate,
mm-hmm.
we got the crime time, we got the New Day started out as like church folk.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that is the stereotype is front and center. Booker T break dance. It's always like that's their main thing.
Right.
So I just wanted to kind of break that stereotype. I didn't want to speak in like an ebonic way with my character. I didn't want to use the N-word in my promos. I didn't want to do anything like that. He just speaks, how he speaks.
Do you find it noticeable when people and writers who are not people of color will write a character who's a person of color, or even when a male writes a female character? Like, is it noticeable? Does it stand out of like either they're trying too hard to make this noticeable of like, I am a person of color, I'm black, or I'm Hispanic, or I'm a female, and that's such an important part of who I am, and the writer's really driving that home. Do you notice when that happens, and does it just feel off?
Yeah, I definitely do notice it. And I remember a couple months back, we had a conversation about someone having a black character in their promo, and it was like super stereotypical, and then they were gone. A good example of someone that does it really good is ETE and SF, because SS, I thought SS was a girl.
Right.
Because the way he writes MVH, there's nothing. MVH could be a man if you just swap the gender and nothing would really change.
Right.
There is this femininity about the character that's there, but she's still very tough, and you can see her surviving in the world where someone carved FWA in someone's chest.
Right.
And also, ETE once again thought it was a girl, but it's a male, and writes a female character really well. I think, like I was saying before, and I don't want to get on ETE, but like, you know how I wasn't feeling Gabrielle's character at first because I think like she was overly sexualized.
Mm-hmm.
And that's that thing of like, oh, writing a woman, she has to be, you have to talk about her sex. But also, I understood the whole like kind of sexual empowerment thing because she wasn't, that character's not ashamed of it.
Mm-hmm.
If the character was ashamed of it, then maybe it might have been written bad. I think they do a really good job of writing it. I think in this Fed in particular, I haven't seen too many times where someone is writing a character that is not of their race or gender, and it's absolutely offensive.
Last question for you. People are saying, I said this, there's, you hear it more. People are saying they like the Eli Black as a character. They see Eli Black going far. They see Eli Black winning a world championship. Jiggy shouted you out as the character he'd want a team with. I've given Eli my own stamp of approval, and pretty early on. The FWA as a whole seems to enjoy you as a writer and the character. What does that do? And you've talked about this already, but, circle back to it, I guess, and end on it. What does that do for you and your confidence as a writer? Because like you said, like you didn't think that you were a great writer when you first got here, but now people consistently are telling you how much, like they're saying you've improved the most of anybody in the last year. So what does that do for your confidence, your place in the FWA, your drive to keep going with it, your drive to keep going with Eli? Because like people can get burnt out with a character after a couple of years.
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, it just enforces like, hey, your ideas are great and you need to stick with it and just refine it as much as you want. I think my problem in the beginning with Eli is I would start storylines, certain things in my universe, and then if I lost a match, I'll throw it away.
Mm-hmm.
And now I know, like, no, just stick with it. Just develop as much as you can, and eventually it will pay off. And that's where I'm at now because everyone's telling me, hey, we enjoy what you're doing, what you've been doing recently. Par, I think Par was a big one. When I did my promo against Cyrus, where I was kind of like coming at it as like a politician and trying to turn the Observer saying that they're a cult, not Church of Nine. And like how he was talking about like what I was doing was really great on the podcast. And I really appreciate everybody coming on here and giving me shout outs. That's really awesome. That's why I'm making sure to shout out everybody back.
Right.
It just makes me feel like, yes, I can be one of the best here. I just need to keep improving, keep asking for advice, and just dedicate myself like AON does, like John does, in terms of lore and pushing the character places and being uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm. That's a really good way of putting it, being uncomfortable. Being uncomfortable until there's nothing that feels uncomfortable, and you can literally pull any play out of your playbook at any point, and it's fine. Franchise, I really appreciate this. This was awesome. I'm going to say that, and this is not me being hyperbolic and maybe a little recency bias, but I don't care. This might have been my favorite one yet.
Oh, wow.
Everything. This was awesome. You are awesome.
Looking forward to doing this. I was like, I hope I can win the North American title, and then we can do this on a Monday and drop that on a Tuesday. But it didn't happen like that, and honestly, I'm happy because I'm happy where the characters are about to go. But yeah, I'm really, really excited to do this because you're really, really good at this. Like, I don't know what your career goal is or anything like that, but if you ever wanted to start other podcast where you wanted to like make money or get into like broadcasting, you would do a great job.
I appreciate that. Back in my past life, that was a thing that I dabbled on professionally. Those days are long gone. So there is some background skill there, but I really appreciate it. So thank you. I do, man. Again, thank you for taking time out of your Sunday to do this. And yeah, man, I'll say it again. I love the Eli Black character. I love how much the Eli Black character has grown and expanded. And I know you won a gauntlet championship. I think the North American championship is not far away. And tag championships, world championship, whatever. you know, around this time, this is my only advice on the podcast I'll give you on this podcast. I will continue to give you advice in the future, but around this time, you're almost 2 years in, is when people start to kind of get fatigued with a character and burnt out and like want to shelve them and try something new. Mm-hmm. My recommendation to you is get through that fatigue. Try and get the other side of that. And if the fatigue is still there after a few months, after 3 months of feeling the same way, then yeah, then you consider maybe doing something different. But sometimes people have fatigue with a character, they shelve them, pretty quickly into that fatigue stretch. And then they're 3 or 4 months later, they've tried a character, it didn't really fit, and they're trying to go backwards to their old character. They've lost time. Yeah. I would just suggest, even when you're feeling fatigued, try something new with the character, but try and get through it. Because I really do think Eli Black, Jiggy said it, other people have said it, I think Eli Black could win a hell of a lot of titles and be hell successful and memorable successful in the FWA. So that's my advice.
I appreciate that. Luckily, I haven't gotten to the burnout part yet because I've gone through so much in the past 2 years with this character. Mm-hmm. And now, a big change just happened again with me losing the Church of Nine. So I'm not there yet, but I'll definitely let you know so you can give me more advice.
Awesome, man. All right, man. Thank you so much again for doing this. I hope you had a good time. And thank you, everyone, for listening. This is the Untitled FWA Podcast here with franchise handler of Eli Black. So happy to have him on. And again, thank you everyone for listening, and thank you, franchise, for doing this.
Thank you. Team Meltdown.